Hey yo, what's up? My name is Myne and welcome back to another Hytale postcard video, and today we have a jam-packed image. Let's get right into the tweet. A Hytale avatar's identity is bound up in the things they create, the friends they make, and the myriad of ways in which they choose to express themselves. There is something about this statement that I want to mention, and it was brought up by Violet, a prominent model maker in the community. Notice how they use the word avatar for the player character. Of the past 4 postcards, 3 have had the word avatar, with one of them only calling us a player. This could just be pure coincidence that when referring to the player character, they mean avatar, and they've just stumbled upon a new word to use. This is just noticing a small change in vocabulary. Now, you could be like Canadian Flash and go all the way out there and say that this is a clue, a hint for name reservations, but to quote the Hytale team, there are no hidden messages. I want to tackle one of the most interesting things about this postcard, and that being this little Earth Guardian that we saw in a previous postcard. People are speculating whether or not this could be a different version of the Earth Guardian, if this is the same one, but here's my case. I believe that this is the same Guardian. Now, the main counter to this would be the size. I mean, in this current postcard, it is very small in comparison to everything else in its surroundings. It is maybe half of a player character, if even that. When we look at the previous postcard, it is ginormous. It takes up half the screen, but I don't think that's actually the case. Looking at the most obvious detail, it is comparatively the same size or similar size to the grass. I mean, the grass is very large. In video, this is called framing. Framing refers to how you choose to compose the shot for a specific scene. In the case of the Guardian's first appearance, the Hytale team chose to frame this postcard around the Guardian, therefore emphasizing its presence in the scene. This is easily done by placing the object further in front of us to make it appear bigger. We see this in film a lot when something is closer to the frame and make the viewer focus on this specific item or object or entity. The same thing is being done here with the Guardian. In this case, a rather small object is being portrayed as prominent, and we can see that this is the case because in the current postcard we see the actual size of the Guardian to scale. This isn't brought in front of anything, this is just put in the scene because the scene wants to emphasize the wide angle of things. It points out that there's a lot of things happening in the scene, and this Guardian is one small part of it. And before we move on to the next thing about this postcard, I want to mention that 95.6% of you are not subscribed. Are you kidding me? Hey, let's at least get to 10%. Can we do that? I'm hoping for it. Now that that's out of the way, we can speculate for hours on why this Guardian specifically is in this scene. I mean, it's just a friendly little town. What purpose does this Guardian serve? Do they just roam around in the wild? Maybe, but this Guardian brings us to the second thing I want to talk about in this postcard, being the 2 Quebec guards we can see stationed on these posts, guarding this village. Why are they there? What are they doing? Who brought them there? All of these are good questions. I want to know. I want to know everything about this game, goddammit. Okay, I gotta calm down. My main questions is how or why are they there? Can they be stationed there? Can you interact with Quebecs and tell them, look, I made this nice little town. Can you make sure that there's no enemy mobs or anyone trying to hurt us that will come into this village? Can you protect us, little Quebec? That's all I'm asking you. But it would be very interesting to find out. I mean, what is their AI like? We've seen them in their own respective Quebec villages, but we also see them as a friendly creature helping this player town. I mean, this is not a Quebec village. They're living in trees, for God's sake. Moving on, we've got some very small details, but very important details. Most notably, grass. I mean, this grass is growing on a non-dirt block. Does that mean grass can grow on whatever this block is? I'm going to presume it's well, I can't presume. I don't know what it is. It's a yellowish block. Where are the limits of grass? What can they all grow on? We see them growing on the green grass blocks, but we also see them on this beige colored block. Would be interesting to find out more. On the bottom right hand corner of the screen, we see an axe placed onto a log, left there because whoever was using it didn't have a need for it anymore. Maybe maybe they got their use out of it. I was going to ramble on about whether or not tools can be placed on blocks or as aesthetics to, brighten up the place, make it seem more lively, but I look back in the trailer and in the very first scene, we see a sword, shield, potion, instrument all laying there. How they interact, I want to know. In the back, we go ahead and see statues with their light up green eyes. Where they got them from is a wonder to itself, but it definitely confirms that we can pick up and place statues we find around the world into our own little house. How nice is that? To our left, we go ahead and see Propsy attending to his farm. And we see that this wheat is half grown, half almost grown. But we've seen crop stages before, and we've seen them actually quite a lot. In fact, in the previous postcards that we've gotten, we've seen crops overgrow and presumably not being able to be harvestable. So Propsy, go ahead and harvest those plants because you don't want them to overgrow. If we look back at January 29th, 2020, when we got a new blog post, and I know that is one hell of a statement I wish I could say in the modern day, we saw crop growth being showcased in this video. More notably, the wheat being grown in our current postcard is being displayed in the full crop stages. Interesting to note though that in this previous blog post, it did not display the overgrowth, which was visible in the previous postcard. So unfortunately, this postcard does not bring any news to farming. Some people have pointed out that eggplants are behind this well, but as you saw in the crop growth video, eggplants have been around for a while now. We look to the trees as we see an apple hanging from a tree. Can apples fall to the ground? We will never know because this game's not coming out. We won't know until we have the game in our hands, but this is pretty good confirmation that apple trees are very much a thing in the game. Speaking of things in the trees, we see a beehive. And while there's not much to talk about a beehive itself because, well, there's bees inside, fellow YouTuber Quebec Corner has made an astounding statement saying that the beta is located inside of this beehive. And to end off the video, we're gonna make it a bit aerial. And by that, I'm talking about the birds. We see an owl that we've seen many times before, but this time next to a nest. So at least we have confirmation that birds have a nest, they have an AI that revolves around it, and I'd be very interested to see how they interact with it or how other mobs interact with this nest. But that's not the big news. The big news is that we have a brand new type of bird, this being the raven, seen in the very back. Whether or not it's a raven, a crow, or whatever is up to Hytale to confirm for us, but at least we know we have a bit more aerial variety when it comes to flying mobs.